All the
Morning,
delays.
sir.
Yes, we are going to mute. I'm going to mute the class
Okay.
and ask you. I will mute every other person and ask you to unmute yourself.
All right.
Yes. Okay, sir. You can unmute yourself now. Sir, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you. I've just done that. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Okay. So good morning once again. I think we already have a lot in the class, a lot of us in the class, and we also be expecting the others to join along the line. So I'll just go straight ahead and share my screen so that we can begin. Just give me time. Let me select the screen to share. Okay. Can we see the screen now?
It's still loading, sir.
It's still loading. All right.
Mm.
Yeah, that's the problem with the poor network.
It's still loading. I know the file is quite big, so
Yes.
so it will take maybe a number.
Okay. I think it's up now.
Yes, it's up now.
All right, great.
It's
Great.
up now.
Okay, so then I'm going to make it a presentation right away. Slide presentation so that we can start. Sorry, by way of introduction, the class rep, what's your name again, sir?
My name is Angu Ongu.
Okay. All right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. The full-blown presentation mode is taking some time to load as well. Let's just be patient. All right, we are good to go. Since we may be experiencing some time lapse between when I change the slide, so let's just be a little patient with the system as we move. So we are looking at environmental impact assessment today. Um, Largely, the material was prepared by Dr. Edache ENS Koja and I think Professor Buke. So I will be taking some parts before I now leave you into the hands of Dr. Ernest Ekoja, who will now complete the rest. I think that's beginning from Wednesday, hopefully. So today, or rather, we'll just first look at the course outline. There are 8 items on the list, beginning with the introduction, where we set the context behind environmental and social impact assessment systems. We look at the theories that underline the EIA process, how it emerged, and then we'll introduce you to the EIA itself, and then how to assess environmental and social impacts. And then I think Dr. Koja will take off from 6, 7, and 8. So I will deal with the first 5 by the grace of God. So we go on. So we'll look at the setting behind the environmental impact assessment system. So if you look at the photo to your right, you will see that there's a company there, and then you see there's some kind of environmental degradation. You see erosion, you see a lot of things happening there, and then you see people carrying placards to suggest that they are not happy about what is happening to the environment. And most of the time, these things happen, and it's the local communities that suffer the consequences of such actions. So that is the reason behind the establishment of the environmental impact assessment process for any project that is to be carried out. So for us to dig into what environmental impact assessment is, I think it is very important first and foremost to first of all identify what is an environment or what is environment. So in totality, environment has to do with the physical, geographical, biological, social, and social, cultural, and political conditions. Yes, Angu.
Yes, sir. My mates are saying you should be a bit
Slow.
they can't hear very well, sir.
Oh, they can. Okay, a little more audible, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Okay. So we have just started. So I think I've not gone far. I will go a little. I'll go back again to say the outline of the course starts with the introduction, where we set the context for environmental and social impact assessment systems. Then we'll look at theoretical framework that underlies or determines EIA. We're also going to look at how EIA emerged, and then we'll introduce you to environmental impact assessment itself. And then there's assessment of environmental and social impact and risks, how this is done. That is where my own contract with you would end. Then Dr. Ekoja will come in to take EIA in Nigeria and the process of EIA, as well as to elucidate to you how the EIA report looks like. Okay, so I hope I'm quite loud enough. Angu, confirm and let me know.
Yes, you are loud enough, sir.
Okay, go ahead. I'll go ahead then. All right, so we look at the introduction, which has to do with setting of the context behind the environmental impact assessment system. So, but before we go ahead, it's very important for us to understand what is the environment. Okay, what makes up the environment? So I think there are six uh, conditions that make up the environment. We have the physical, we have the geographical, biological, social, cultural, and political. These are the conditions that surround us as individuals within the environment, and they are the ones that ultimately shape how we carry out our activities and then how we are able to survive within the environment. And this definition comes from the World Bank report on education. So, be in totality, all the factors that are both living and then non-living. That is what we call the biotic and abiotic factors that surround us, or they are the ones that we find within our environment. These ones are the ones that affect us as individuals or a population at every point in time in our life. All right. Then it also includes the circumstances that surround a particular activity or occurrence or things that happen. So, in totality, the environment is everything that is around us, both physical, okay, biological, and any other one condition that are around us entirely. That is what makes up our environment. So, it's either physical things that are seen or things that are even not seen, like air and other things. So that is in totality what our environment is all about. Now, as we must have learned earlier in secondary schools, the environment encompasses four components, or in short, when we talk about the earth, it encompasses four components. All right. We look at the lithosphere, the atmosphere, hydrosphere, and what? Biosphere. The lithosphere comprises the rocks, the soil, everything about the Earth's surface. That is what comprises the lithosphere. Then for atmosphere, it's basically the air that surrounds us. And then hydrosphere, as the name suggests, hydro, it means it's water. Biosphere is everything, the living things that surround us. Since it's talking about bio, we are looking at life in that context. So four components that make up the environment, once again, lithosphere, atmosphere, hydrosphere, and biosphere. We go on. So what role does the environment play in shaping our lives or keeping us functional within our niche here or the earth where we live? So this environment that we live in, it plays an important role in making us healthy or keeping us healthy as human beings. And it also matters because the earth is not just a home for us alone, and it's also where we get our food, where we get our other necessities and needs that we use to survive. So, in all, as human beings, we are dependent on the environment for our well being. Okay. So the environment has to be in top shape for us to be able to live healthy and then survive and then carry out our activities with in sound mind. So in essence, the environment is also the source of mortality and what morbidity. So in as much as we live by the environment, we are also able to die by the environment. So these are two things, two opposites put together. So now, since the environment has been diagnosed or identified to be an important aspect of life, every country uh, strives to reach some developmental goals or reach a level of development for its people. And this development has attracted the construction of various projects that seek to realize the socioeconomic and political development goals that such countries may have put as targets. But if you look at it earlier on, this development comes at a very huge cost to the environment. So there are a lot of ecological challenges that are associated with development projects, and most of them have negative impacts on the society and then on the environment as well. So, looking at the whole thing, if we look at the first picture I told us about when we were looking at the setting for EIA, we could see that when projects are done without adequate care for what they will do to the environment, that is what you get. We have ecological challenges, erosion, and waste disposal, and all that. Then that affects a lot of things in the environment, both the things that should have been giving the local community some level of livelihood, and then even the aesthetic view of the place is altered. So, like I said, the economic development we are seeking comes at a cost on the environment. But what we see here is, okay, this is a very attractive development. Everything looks good, and then at least the environment is well kept. Now, this is the ideal situation, all right? But in most cases, this is not the real situation that we have on Earth currently. Now, by the right there, you see a picture, and that picture tells a different story from the initial one we saw just now. Okay, so the amalgamation of industrialization, improved technology, and economic growth. These three things have impacted our lives positively. It has improved the quality of our lives. That is why we have things like the cell phone. And you're also seated comfortably in your various stations and you are taking lectures. That's also a benefit of technology and improvement. Okay, but again, there are negative consequences that this technology or this improvement has brought to our lives. So, take for instance, where uh, we get this cell phones because there is some mining activities that go on. So most of the silicon and cobalt and all those materials that are used to make this come from mines, and this has
Sorry, sir.
negative.
Sorry for cutting you short. Sorry.
Hello.
Some people are still complaining. Hello, sir. Sorry for cutting you short.
Oh, okay.
Some students
I
are
can
still
hear you.
complaining that they can't hear.
They can't hear. Okay.
Yes.
Just uh, let me let me test my sound and see. But can you
Okay.
hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I think probably what how do we do this? Do we ask to get opinion, as in how many people, so, and then we'll be able to diagnose where the problem is coming from. Because I'm literally shouting here.
Okay, I think probably it's from their network.
Yeah, okay, I can guess as much. So I don't know what we can
Yes.
do. Previously, was this challenge there in the first week?
Some say they can hear, but it's not clearly.
Okay. Was this challenge there in
Yes.
the first week?
No, I don't
No,
think
not regular.
is a challenge
Okay.
uh, for everybody, but I think maybe because of network
All right.
and because you are also a very soft-spoken man, sir. Maybe
Okay.
maybe that is why also. If
Uh,
not, it's not a challenge. We can hear you. We can hear you, but maybe some want you to be sounding like. But you're a very soft-spoken man, sir.
all right. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. We can
Wow.
hear you. They say
Um, I'm
okay.
still thinking.
It's
I'm
not
still
from
thinking.
his. I don't think it's really from his network.
Yes.
Because
Can can you seek
Tabitha, you
like
say
a
you can. I also cannot hear him, but in the second time you say it's from his network because I can hear you. So that is a bit
oh
contradictory. I think we can hear you, sir. But
okay.
naturally, you are a
Wha-
soft-spoken man. So basically, that is a matter, sir.
Oh,
Continue, sir.
oh, all right. what I wanted to do was to do like an opinion poll to get the number of people that are not hearing, and then so that we know whether it's a majority. If it's majority, then we may need to um, find a solution or something else. Then
So,
probably
are you using a earpiece or
no,
something?
I'm not.
Okay, it's freehand. So no, we can hear you. Though, like I said, you are a soft-spoken man. It may not be like someone else, but we are
Okay,
hearing you loud and clear, sir.
okay, all right.
Mm.
So I think with that said and done, we could go ahead. Is that okay with everybody? All right. So, like I said, the idea of development works by tapping resources from the environment. So, once we tap resources from the environment, it means that there will not be a conflict between what we want as human beings and the environmental or natural processes that occur within the environment. So, take for instance, mining, for instance, when you dig a place to remove some soil to mine something, the natural process of where water will flow will be altered because you have now created an artificial trench or something like that. So these factors play a significant role in shaping what happens to the environment as a result of our activities or the need to improve our lives through industrialization, technology, and other endeavors. So now, um, since we are looking at artificial interventions in the environment that cause problems, the environment itself also has its own issues that constitute hazards. So when we put the two together, the artificial environmental problems that have arisen due to our savory taste for technology and civilization, and then the ones that occur naturally. Once we put these two together, okay, we now have a complex interaction. And this is what now become hazard to our health as humans and even the healthy functioning of our ecosystem. So through the problem now becomes two-pronged. The one we create and then the one nature itself has. But putting the two together, the hazard increases on our health and then the health of the ecosystem. So, well, yes, we get positive gains from the developmental activities. But again, we also get negative impacts on people and on the environment. So that is just the message behind this slide. Okay, so there's a lot of negative impacts that occur as a result of the industrialization, the taste for technology, and then economic growth that we are talking about. So if you look at this slide, you see a lot of things happening there. Loss of biodiversity. And I think if we look very carefully, those of us, well, I don't know, but I think within this class, we should have people who are quite old enough. It's very difficult to see vultures nowadays. I think it's something that calls for concern. Vultures that used to be very common in
Very
the
true.
80s. Is that true?
Very true.
Good. Okay. So vultures used to be common in the 80s, and then but towards the 90s, the early 2000s, now we rarely see vultures. So with advanced technology and economic activities going on, there's loss of biodiversity. Then also deforestation. This is quite true because, okay, those of us from the um, Makodi axis here, if you are traveling between Makodi and Abuja, I think after, is it Agan or something, there's supposed to be a forest reserve, which is supposed to be there. But unfortunately, The forest reserve is no longer a forest reserve. Everything there has been uh, taken down. Okay, so deforestation, loss of biodiversity, these two things go hand in hand. We also have soil erosion. You can see from the picture there. Soil erosion is also part of the negative impacts of growing economic activity. And then climate change, yes, a lot of us know about this, but it goes hand in hand with pollution as well. So the excess release of greenhouse gases, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, okay, and methane, and those other gases that are associated with burning of fossil fuels, they cause climate change. Then lastly, rapid population growth. This one has, uh, or rather, I would say, is the driver behind the rapid growing economic activities that we have. Because the more the number of human beings we have, the more the economic activity we engage in. And then this increases and increases and increases, I think, even at a geometric rate that we cannot control. So, every activity that is carried out, every developmental activity that is being carried out has an environmental impact. And we have tried to list the impacts of the development activities on this slide. These activities affect our air quality. Okay. Now, I think it surprises me. I think I'll mention this. There was a day I was watching CNN, and they do put air quality in some cities, and it ranges from red, yellow, down to green. So they said Lagos, for instance, was in the green zone. But I was wondering how, because if you compare Lagos and Makodi, I would say Makodi has better air quality than Lagos, or you put some other city. But unfortunately, even Lagos had better air quality than some advanced cities that I saw. So it surprises me. But be it as it may, developmental activities affect air quality. They also cause noise. They also impact water quality, drinking water, and then even the water in the streams and rivers. Developmental activity has a lot to do with waste management. Uh, we can attest to that if we look within Makodi itself. We have a lot of waste that accumulates around the banks of the river. Then this idea of development activity also leads to land contamination. A lot of materials are dumped on land and then without adequate regard. One principal material that is dumped on land and it's a hazard is plastic bags, plastic bottles. So there's a lot of plastic contamination on land and even in water. Development also affects the ecology of our areas. If we look, for instance, around the town, there are certain places you go to. Probably you could see. Okay, for in the earlier time past, we could see that hippos used to come on the river Benue here in Makodi. But unfortunately now, it's very rare to see the hippos show up within Makodi. They seem to have relocated to a quieter, more pristine environment than the noisy place we have within the developed town here in Makodi. And it also affects fish production. It affects the way the environment looks. It also changes our cultural heritage. Now, in the past, when our women go to the market, they go to the market with baskets and all that. But now, when they go to the market, they come back home with plastic bags, a lot of things, and then they are just like single-use materials that once used, they are thrown away, and then this affects our environment. So in totality, development affects or escalates the hazards that we have to our life as a whole. So we continue again, trying to set the context for why we need the environmental and social impact assessment system. Now, um, the world, or everybody, as we know, also know that there is a great desire for development, and this is accepted or universally uh, accepted. But apart from that, knowing fully well that we also desire that development should be carried out quickly and then should be top notch, there's also rising concern, okay, whether environmental constraints can limit development, okay, and also whether development will also cause serious environmental damage. So this is like the flip side of the coin, okay, whether environment will affect development or whether development will also affect environment. So these are two sides of the same coin. So in either way, these two can impair the quality of life in our current generation or in the future generation put together. Then, in order to progress, we must find common ground. And in finding common ground, we need to look at how we can carry out infrastructural development in such a way that it improves uh, our quality of life. Okay. Now, we also know fully well that if we are carrying this out, there are going to be negative consequences, okay, on land, water, air, biodiversity, and then on us as human beings. So we are trying to balance both infrastructural development and the impact of this development we are going to carry out. So these two things should be at the back of our mind. But remember, like I said before, it's two sides of the same coin. Either the environment will limit our pace or the level of development, or the development we are carrying out is going to negatively affect our environment. So put that two together, then you need to find common ground between the two. Okay. But at the back of our mind, we should know that whatever development we are carrying out, whatever level of development must affect the environment. And then we also know that the environment is an integral part, or would I say, the base, okay, where the development takes place. It's an integral part of the overall process of development. So now we are going to understand from what we have said from behind till now. There are two things we need to take home, okay? That whatever development we are doing, it affects the environment. And then secondly, the environment is where the development takes place. So that is why whatever you are doing, it will affect the environment. So coming from behind and seeing all we have said, it now dawned on us as human beings as far back as 1972, when there was mainstream recognition of this nexus between environment and development. And this took place in Stockholm, Sweden, during the United Nations Conference on the Human Environment, UNCHE. And secondly, there was the Earth Summit in Brazil in 1992. This endorsed the Agenda 21, okay? And then we'll look at some of those provisions later as we discuss in this lecture. And in 1983, there was the United Nations World Conference on Environment and Development. Either we call it UNCED or WCED, as the case may be. But moving forward from there, in 1987, there was a landmark report produced by that conference. And then it was titled Our Common Future, and it was released. And that became the anchor for a lot of things that will happen later on. Okay. Now, there are spin-offs from that declaration from the UNCED. And then one of them is that the declaration recognizes the integral interdependence between the nature of the earth, okay, our home, all right. So and then our desire for development. Now, there are 27 principles that they propose for the development or sustainable development, as the case may be. So that is to say, instead of focusing on development with negative impact on the environment, we are now shifting to what is called sustainable development. Okay, and this is what brought about the practice of environmental impact assessment. So I think I I don't know if I'm too fast. If I'm too fast, you let me know. Please, if I'm too fast, you let me know. Anyone there? Hello?
I am not too fast.
Okay. All right.
You are not too fast, sir.
Okay. All right.
Fire
Then
on, sir.
and I believe you are understanding and you're following.
Yes, sir.
Very good, sir.
All right.
Someone
So,
said, Mr. Asimakaha said you are too fast, so
okay. Okay.
in the chat, he just posted in the chat that you are
Oh,
too fast.
okay. That's what I want to find out. All right. So I
We
think
are
I
trying.
will, yes,
Okay,
I will try
another
and
person
slow
said you are
down.
not too fast. Carry on, following very
Okay.
well. You're on a
I
good
will
pace.
try and slow down.
We are okay. We are okay with your speed. I think majority
Okay.
carry this thing.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you. So let's move on from here. Now, since we have been able to establish the need for sustainable development and not just development alone, then the next question we'll now ask is, what constitutes sustainable development? So, for sustainable development, we have this tri tricordial, uh, or what we call the uh, three-step process, okay, that leads to sustainability. Now, in every development activity we are going to carry out, there are three major uh, axes or three major scenarios that we intend to elucidate or achieve. So we either looking at economic growth when we are carrying out a project. We're also going to look at social development if we are carrying out a project. And then ultimately, the protection of the environment or the environmental aspect. So every project has an economic aspect, has a social aspect, and then has the environmental aspect. Because if you remember, I said every project happens in the environment. Every project happens in the environment because the environment is the host of the project. So put this together and then understanding the theory of the set theory that we used to know in mathematics in secondary school. The intersection of the three sets, economic growth, the social aspect, and environmental aspect, where the three intersect, that is where sustainability occurs or sustainable development occurs. So that is to say, there is economic growth, there is environmental protection, and then there's adequate consideration of social aspects as it affects the humans that are living around that area. So three things. Once these three criteria are met, then that development you are carrying out is called sustainable development. Otherwise, it is not. So we try to define sustainable development. Okay. So yes, I used to there was a I can't remember. I think it was a cartoon I watched or something. No, it was a newspaper uh, cartoon where a kid was complaining. He said, "Our parents said they were going to make us cry." And the other one asked him, "But you're not crying?" No, he said, "Sorry, how did they do it?" He said, "They finished everything even before we grew up." So that is to say, when the present generation uses resources, the next generation should also be able to use the same resources or even meet the resources in a better form than the parent generation met them. So, sustainable development is actually development that meets the needs of the present and does not compromise the ability of the future generation to meet their own needs, as the case may be. So, the Rio Declaration has some principles that are linked because that is where the idea of sustainable development came from. So there are some principles, I think 4 of them from the 21-point agenda there that deal principally with sustainable development. Okay, so we're going to look at 4 of them. And the first one, principle 1, says that human beings are the core concern for sustainable development. And these human beings should be entitled to healthy and productive life that is in harmony with nature. So our life should be well catered for in such a way that we live within the environment as nature had provided for us initially before we started the idea of industrialization and technology and development and all that. Then principle 3 talks about sustainable development that must be equitable. And that means that sustainable development must equitably meet the developmental needs, environmental needs of both the present and future generations. So that's the idea of equitability. It should satisfy us today, and then there should be enough to satisfy the generation of tomorrow. So the two principles we are looking at here has to do with the idea of the human beings being at the center, and then we also look at the need for humans in the future to benefit from the same resources that their parents benefited from. Now, principle 17 and principle 19. For principle 17, it looks at EIA as an integral or a national instrument that should be undertaken for every proposed activity that should or is envisaged to have adverse impact on the environment. So that is to say, such activities are activities that are subject to a decision of a competent national authority. For us here, we have I think we have the environmental, uh, we have NESRIA, all right, as one of the agencies that deal with.
We have Nestra.
Yes, NESRIA, right?
Thanks.
Good. So, then principle 19, this says that every state should introduce environmental assessment. Okay, this is one of the objectives that was released from the conference at Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. So put together, we have 4 principles. The first 2 are integral, actually dealing with the human aspect and then the relationship between the human beings and the environment as they carry out the development process. And then the second 2 has to do with environmental impact assessment itself, okay? The instruments and then it being introduced or enshrined as part of the development process. So In the past, how were projects being carried out? We could see that it was just an idea of let's make profit. That is just the ultimate goal. Profit was just it was written in gold and then engraved on all the projects that were being carried out in time past. So everything, okay, was mapped out. All activities were done without or with little or no attention to environmental impacts and then risks, as the case may be. But for the World Bank approach, it's the three P's is profit, people, and planet. As against the profit approach that used to be the traditional approach. So for the World Bank approach, projects are financed so that environmental management forms an integral part of the development project. And this happens in both the development, in both the design phase and the implementation phase. So the environment is taken into consideration during design of projects and then during implementation of projects under the World Bank approach. So for the World Bank strategy, the World Bank strategy uh, is summed up in their statement. And let me just say, since it's in quotes, it says the World Bank Group is committed to supporting countries in reducing poverty and building shared prosperity in a sustainable manner. So that is to say, every project that is going to be sponsored by the World Bank, okay, is going to be aimed at reducing poverty and then build wealth. And this wealth build
I guess our lecturer too had a network glitch. Let me continue to look for him. And see if he can be brought on again. Okay, he's not yet up. He had a network glitch himself. So we are waiting for our lecturer. He will soon join us. Oh. His network, Magana. Give him some more time. He will join us.
Mr. Ongo, the lecturer said he is connected in the main group.
Okay, I'm trying to. Let us look for him and unmute him. Oh, you see, I'm looking for his name in G instead of D. Doc, you can unmute yourself, sir. Yes, sir. Doc is on now. Doc, you can unmute yourself, sir. Doc, you can unmute yourself, sir. Doc is on, but we are asking him to unmute himself. I've asked him severally to unmute. Doc, can you hear me? Or if you can drop a chat in the chat box, sir.
Hello?
Yeah,
Hello?
Doc, you're back in power now. You're back in power, sir.
Okay. All right.
Mm.
Sorry about that. Let me just.
You're back in power. Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, so let me share my screen again, then we continue. can't find the I can't find the PowerPoint. Let me check. Okay, I think I've seen it.
Okay, sir.
It's taking some time to pick it, so just be a little patient.
Mhm. Okay, Doc. Okay, the listen is still loading. Yes, we are on now, sir. Doc, we are on, sir. Hey, Doc. Doc, you can unmute yourself, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah. You can hear me now, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, better. So let me just put this on presentation mode.
Yes, boss.
Okay. So sorry about the interruption. So we earlier looked at the World Bank strategy on environmental impact inclusion in projects or financing of projects. So they try to use the resources they have in reducing poverty and then building uh, prosperity. And in doing that, they consider both the social and environmental aspects of the project. So moving ahead, we are going to look at the World Bank environmental and social policy. And I'm trusting that by 11, at least, I will have met my targets. So let's just keep going. Now, the policy, ES policy of the World Bank is the one that is used to um, provide the mandatory requirements that the bank needs when it comes to projects that it supports through its investment project financing window. So to do this, the bank normally supports borrowers in the development and implementation of projects that are environmentally and socially sustainable. So that is to say, the World Bank doesn't just throw in money into any project. The only projects they will finance are projects that are sustainable when you consider the environment and then when you consider the social aspect as well. So projects they finance must be environmentally and socially sustainable. And this one is that they also, they also enhance the capacity of the borrower, okay, to assess and manage all the risks that are linked to the project in terms of environment and social risks. So environmental risks, social risks that are linked to projects, the World Bank will enhance the capacity of the borrower to be able to assess and manage them put together. So it's not just about knowing the risks, but it's just also about being able to manage those risks. So it's one thing to know, and then the most important thing is how to manage the environmental and social risks that spin off from the projects the bank will sponsor. So in order to execute this policy, there are certain things the World Bank will do. All right, so it doesn't just allow the borrower to bring documents or do the findings by itself. It does its own due diligence of the proposed projects. Okay, so it does its own due diligence, and then it looks at it proportionate to the nature and potential, and then the significance of the environmental and social risks or impacts that are related to that project. So it also supports the borrower in order to carry out early and continuing engagement and meaningful consultation with stakeholders. So it's not just a question of, okay, yes, the nation that is about to get the money would carry out this assessment of the environmental risk and impact, but also there should be continuous consultation with stakeholders so that as the project is being implemented, there's monitoring, there's evaluation, so that the impact from start to finish is well documented. Then thirdly, there will be an agreement with the borrower, okay, in under conditions which the bank is prepared to provide support to the project. These conditions set out in the environmental and social commitment plan. Then fourthly, it monitors the environmental and social performance of a project in accordance with the ESCP and then the environmental and social standards, ESS, as the case may be. So these are the four cardinal policy implementation strategies the World Bank uses for projects they sponsor. Now, the environmental and social assessment procedures that are tools that are used. These are very wide in number. There are lots of them. Let me put it that way now. Yes. Somebody is raising his hand. Class rep. Okay, Mary. Mary, can we hear her view? Okay, then there's Vera too. Class rep, can we hear their views? Hello?
All right, thank you very much, sir.
Yes.
Please, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Before I forget. So I would like to ask, what role did the WCED and its 1987 report, that's on our common future, play in shaping the concept of sustainable development? And then how does the use of environmental resources justify the need for environmental and social impact assessment, sir?
Okay, all right. So two questions. Although we maybe would have waited to the end of this presentation, then we can take that. But let me just take them now. Okay. The first one you said, what role does the WCED have on or let me get you again. What role does the WCED have on environmental impact assessment? Hello? Vera? Hello? Are you there, Vera? Class rep, can you help us, please?
Okay, so I said, what role did the WCED and its 1987 report play in shaping the concept of sustainable development?
Okay. Then the second one.
If you have a question, you can
Put
always
it on the
just
chat.
drop it in the chat box so that it can be re-echoed if need be,
Yeah.
so that it can be repeated. Yeah,
So
thank
just
you.
drop them on the chat. I'll pick them up and then we'll talk about them at the end. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
All right, so we just continue. Now, the environmental and social assessment tools, like I said, we have lots of them. So I'll make, there's just a small list here that is available. Okay, but the most frequently used ones are the environmental and social impact assessment, environmental and social management plan. Now that is at the end of everything, at the end of the EIA or the ESIA. That environmental and social management plan is the one that is used to guide the implementation of the project. So an impact assessment is just like what is going to happen. But the plan now is what shows what should be done to manage the thing that is expected to happen. So the ESMP is like the final uh, map that determines how the impacts are managed. Then we have the Strategic Environmental and Social Assessment, SESA, Environmental and Social Compliance Audit, ESCA, Resettlement Action Plan, Indigenous Peoples Plan, Pest Management Plan, and a whole lot of others are there. So we go ahead from here to talk about, I'm having issues moving to the next slide.
You can continue, sir, while you try to get to the next slide, sir.
Just a moment, please. Okay, I think yeah, that basically ends the talk on the setting of the context for understanding what environmental impact assessment is. So I think it will now be time to look at the questions and see how we deal with them. So let me open the chat. Okay. Okay, the first question I'm seeing here is from Ogumola Mohammed. It says, can EIA custodian punish any company operating without EIA being conducted before establishing the company? I think that question has some deficiency. Okay. HOD, sir, your hand is up.
HOD is in class, and
Yes.
he wants to.
Yes, please. Can you give him permission?
He wants to greet us briefly.
Yes, sir. Please give him permission.
Yes, sir. It's granted, sir.
Okay. Good morning, my HOD.
Good morning, Professor Taguba, and good morning to our indomitable course rep and his assistant, Dr. Susan. I'm just doing my normal routine checkup, so I just came by to greet the course lecturer for this morning, Professor Taguba. Thank you, sir, for all you're doing for us. We really appreciate. And I can see we have over 130 participants on board. That's quite encouraging. So, Prof, this is just to say hi. I apologize. It's just one of my routine practices so that our department maintains some level of quality assurance. Thank you, sir.
No problem, sir. You're welcome, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Yes, we also have a number of hands up. I think let's listen to them first. Then I go to the chat and pick the questions. But if it's questions they have, those hands lifted should just put the questions on the chat. But if it's something else you want to say, then let's hear them. Class rep, you understand me?
Yes, well, I think I've said that before. After the first person asks the question, I've dropped a chat. If it's the question you have, drop it in the chat box. It is easier that way, and the class flows better that way.
So if you know it's a question you have, then just drop your hand and put it in the chat. But if it's not a question, then we will now attend to you so long as your hand is up. All right, thank you. So I think I'll go back to the first question, which says, can EIA custodian punish any company operating without EIA being conducted before establishing the company? Now, the truth of the matter is, if a company is going to be established, then it should be to the knowledge of the EIA custodian or the agency that approves the establishment of such company. So for a company to exist and bypass all those processes may not be that possible in reality, except if the company did whatever they did in hiding. But I think that's not even possible because you have to acquire land, you have to acquire a lot of things, and then you have to state what you are using the land for and get papers, get permits, and all that. So, in essence, what you should have asked is whether companies that are operating in contradiction or contrary to the now, please let's get a distinction here. There's a difference between environmental impact assessment and then the environmental and social management plan, ESMP. The ESMP is the one that actually is to be implemented, and the EIA is just an assessment. It tells you what this is going to do, but the management plan now is the one that determines how you are going to act. So if you are going to act contrary to your ESMP, then you can be sanctioned. I don't know if Ogumola is understanding me. If you do understand, please, you can put in the chat later that you understand. Then we can continue. Then we also have one from Vera. He is asking, what role did the WCED and its 1987 report play in shaping the concept of sustainable development? Okay, now, earlier before the conference, I said there was a disconnect between the idea of development and then the idea of environment or managing the environment as a result of the development process. So with the coming of the WCED, okay, it now led to the real agreement that had the 21-point agenda. And I did list out 4 of those components for you. Now, it was a spin-off from there that led to the fact that the principle 1 and principle 3 had to do with the idea of the human beings and their environment, while the principle 17 and 19 all deal with EIA itself and then the implementation of the management plans that originate from the EIA by every state or nation that is signatory to the accord. Okay, so in essence, the WCED sets the tone, okay, for the adoption of the principles of sustainable development that integrates both development, human well-being, and then the activities or actions to be carried out by states in order to achieve that sustainable development. So it's the one that brought up the idea of having economic growth, having to take care of the social aspects of people, and also environmental protection. Put those three together, the nexus now comes to the center, which is talking about sustainable development. Then secondly, she is asking, how does the use of environmental resources justify the need for environmental and social impact assessment? Yes, I think from my initial introduction, I did make it clear to us that we are at speed when it comes to industrialization and it comes to use of technology. So the speed where we are is what has led us to the initial or the traditional approach towards development, where it is just an issue of profit, profit. Okay. So, but with the World Bank approach, okay, the idea of profit, people, and planet came into being. So it's not just to use the resources, okay, but in as much as possible, let the resource use, okay, bring economic well-being, let the resource use benefit the people, and then let the resource use not harm the planet or harm the environment. So yes, okay, the use of resources without adequate care of the environment in the initial setting is what has led to the need for uh, social and environmental impact assessment. And with this assessment, we'll be able to now better manage the economic development process without harming the environment or creating situations where future generations will not be able to survive. So Vera, I hope that answers your question. Then thirdly, we have oh, this name. I don't know how to pronounce the name, but we are not using official names here, so it's so hard for me. Is this your Koolabi? Is that how you are pronounced? So, but your question says, can we minimize the effect of environmental impact on industrialization without affecting each other? I think the the answer to this is not yes and it's not no, because it's like a trade-off. Okay, so when you're trying to find common ground, one person must have to give up something and the other person must have to give up something, so for them to find a common ground. So we cannot say that we can minimize environmental impact without affecting industrialization. But industrialization must surely affect the environment, and the environment can also affect industrialization. So all we need to do is to find a common ground between the two of them so that we can move forward. So it is we only industrialize based on what the environment will allow us to do. And that brings up the idea of carrying capacity. So it's not everything that the environment can carry. The environment can carry some, it cannot carry others. So we just have to make do with what the environment can carry. I think we have reached 11 o'clock. So uh, from what I know, I think that's the last question. There's let me check. So without okay, there's a Barry Andrew, and then there's Bem Asen. So I think can we take these questions after the break so that we can go on break? It's usual since this is IFES, we are very stringent with our timing. So let's go on break. by the time we come at 1 o'clock, right? And we continue from there. Thank you. Ango, please take over.
Very much, sir. Thank you very much. I've asked all of us to unmute.
Thank you, sir.
We can unmute and
Thank
greet
you,
our
sir.
lecturer.
Okay,
Thank
you're
you very much,
welcome.
sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. See you again by 1 o'clock.
Thank you,
All
sir.
right.
Very
We
wonderful
were
lecture.
asking for, we were negotiating for 30 minutes more, but
You were negotiating, no, not will.
Oh,
like I said, others were in agreement and others were not in agreement.
I
So
didn't see any
I'm
of them.
speaking for all of us.
Thank
Very much, bro. We
So see
appreciate
you
that.
by 1.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ango, please try relate to him. You should get an earpiece for the next lecture because some of us were just here. If I tell you I got anything,
An earpiece may be worse.
Right.
Okay, and I wanted to say something. I wanted to say that, look, at times if you're having a Zoom call and a call comes in, and maybe you mute the call, you reject the call, what happens, it takes your volume very low. So if you have a earpiece that has a cord, are you listening? If you have a earpiece that has a cord, you can insert it into your phone. After some while, remove it. Your volume will go back to where it was before. If you're having a Zoom call and a call comes in and you mute the call, you also mute your volume. That is what happens. I don't know whether you get what I'm saying.
I was in the
very true.
despite the fact that I rejected the call, then the volume is just low. I can't even hear them again. I have to.
If you reject the call, what you will do, sir, get a earpiece that is a cord, insert it into your phone. Listen to the earpiece for some time. Then you can now remove the earpiece. Your volume will go back to normal. But if you don't do that, the volume becomes very, very low. I don't know whether this my explanation is gotten.
it's okay. It's understood.
Did you see the battery? He has gone, eh? He has gone, eh? Me battery.
Okay, Patrick. Okay, so
I say, did you see?
I didn't go.
Towards the end of the class. Missed
I'm
a
not going
lot.
that place because I don't want anybody.
Okay, okay. But what about Monday?
Okay, we discussed. You said that I'm that the
Okay.
printer got the printer is bad. That's the reason I got it. I even checked. The prints are there. So once they told the guy and that, I even saw the. I mean, I started going to this.
Okay.
Right. So the moment I'm just going.
Hello?